Thank you for being here with me this morning.
Oh, no problem. Happy to be here.
You are the Food Service Department Director.
Yes.
The school was remote last season and it's predicted this coming school year. Still, our students were getting 2 free meals a day,
Yes.
breakfast and lunch. I'm very interested to hear about the challenges of the Community Eligibility Provision Program during the pandemic and what you see will be the challenges as the new school year is about to start in a few weeks.
Okay. Well, first let me say that the Community Eligibility Provision, CEP, Wareham falls under that, and actually it made things a little bit easier for Wareham as opposed to other school districts, because we, at the beginning of the school closure back in March, the government had not yet allowed for the meals to be universal. So at that time, one of the things, we started it, but we weren't sure if we were going to be getting the financial support from the government or not. But when they did say that they were going to be providing the support, initially it was only going to be for CEP districts, which Wareham is. Later on, then it was expanded to everyone, all school districts, universal. So fortunately, our superintendent, Dr. Shaver Hood, had tasked myself and the other director of the transportation department to do some initial planning in case of a school closure. So we had already developed a plan, an outline in case of a school closure of how we would continue offering meals to our students in Wareham. What we came up with was a plan that upon school closure, there would be school buses available and bus drivers. And what we ended up doing was having a program where we had several distribution sites. Most of them were serviced by a school bus. Some weren't, but most of them were. And we had a school bus that we would load with coolers with milk, 8-ounce cartons of milk, and breakfasts and lunches. And everything was in accordance with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the USDA guidelines for nutrition requirements. And we would send out the buses with coolers with milk and all the bagged grab-and-go breakfasts and grab-and-go lunches. And then we would distribute them for a 90-minute period from 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Monday through Friday. And that plan ended up starting on Monday, March 16th. It was a little slow going. There was some growing pains. Obviously, we had to figure some things out over the first week. I will say that the efforts of all involved were fantastic. The bus drivers, the helpers on the buses, all the cafeteria staff, the kitchen staff, kitchen workers, everybody, the managers, everybody came together and all had the same goal, and everybody wanted it to be successful. And we got lots of recommendations. How about if we change this? How about if we change that? And after a few days, everything started working out very smoothly. We figured out that we needed to start one process a little bit ahead of another process in order to make sure everything came together well, and we were able to get that all ironed out. And I would say after the first week, we were up and running very smoothly, and it worked well. And we kept on going all the way until August 14th was the end date of our summer food service program. Some of the challenges we ran into initially were getting the word out, making sure that everybody knew. We did reach out to community organizations to try to advertise the fact that the meals were available. The government thankfully gave us guidelines in which the meals were universally free. So there was a little bit of, that was one of the things that had to get ironed out in the first week, but after the first week, we were able to give the meals out for all children in Wareham, 18 years and younger. And so they did not have to be a student at Wareham Public Schools. And so that's the way we ran all the way up through till August 14th. It was universally available, free meals for anybody. We didn't check student IDs or anything like that. And also, one of the waivers that was granted by the government was we were able to give the meals to parents or guardians for the children. So the children did not have to be present for them to come pick up the meals. That became very important because one of the challenges we ran into was a lot of folks were worried about exposing their children to the coronavirus. So they were willing to come out and pick up meals for their children, but they weren't willing to expose their children unnecessarily by taking them out of the home and taking them to these distribution points. So thankfully, with that waiver that was granted, we were able to just give the meals to the adults who were taking them back home for the children. So that worked out very well also. There were numerous other things that small challenges that would come up that we would end up coming up with solutions for. One thing I would say was there was a little resistance from a lot of folks for taking the milks. They would say, oh, we still have leftover milks. My child did not drink the milks yesterday. Can we just leave those behind? And we would explain to them, no, in order for it to be a balanced meal, in accordance with the U.S. Department of Agriculture guidelines, we have to include milk with that as well. And it took a few weeks before everybody finally got on board with that, but then they were like, okay, we're taking him home and we're going to make sure our children drink it, and we understand that we have to take the milk as well. Certainly one of the things, another challenge was trying to make sure that we had enough variety in our meals so that the children did not get tired of getting the same thing over and over and over again. What we ended up eventually coming to was Monday through Thursday, we did, for the lunch that is, we did some type of sandwich with a lunch meat, ham and cheese, bologna and cheese, salami and cheese, etc. And then on Fridays, we tried to mix it up some with wraps, with tuna fish subs, and throw in a snack item and such, and we tried to jazz up the meals that we were giving out on Friday, because we were actually giving them out for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That was another waiver that we were granted, where we could actually give out meals for multiple days, and we were allowed to give out meals for 7 days a week. So in the end, I think it all worked out very well. Thanks to the efforts of all involved, and I have to say I was blessed with the staff that we had. Everybody was very gung-ho, very much wanted to make it successful, and everybody worked well together. Thanks to all their efforts, we gave out a huge amount of meals over those months up to August 14th, and we're going to be starting up again this coming Monday, August 31st, doing the meal distribution again, but there's going to be a little bit of changes later on that I can tell you about if you'd like.
You mentioned you've been giving out a lot of meals. It's quite a lot. We look between March 16th to August 14th, 238,000 meals, over 238,000 meals were distributed.
Yes, ma'am.
That is a lot.
Yes.
And you said that the program kind of took a brief break, and now it's about to start again on Monday. It is going to run until September 15th.
Yes, ma'am.
And you alluded, is that going to be different than what we have experienced?
So what will be the same, so it'll be, until the 15th, it's going to be identical to what we were doing back in July and August up until the 14th. It's going to be the same 8 distribution sites, and we're going to be giving out at same times. Everything's going to be identical. The thing that is up in the air right now is what's going to happen on Wednesday, September 16th. That is the first day of the academic year. That's when we start remote learning. Right now, if certain waivers that were requested by many states to the federal government, if they're not granted, on September 16th, we change programs and we fall under what's called the National School Lunch Program, and we're no longer under the program we've been operating under since March. Under that, we are only allowed to provide meals for Wareham Public School students, so it's no longer universal free meals. It's still going to be free meals, but we're supposed to only provide them for Wareham students. Additionally, it would only be for school days, so we wouldn't be able to give out meals for holidays, we wouldn't be able to give out meals for the weekends. I would say that other waivers have been extended, such as being able to give the meals to parents or guardians, so we'll still be able to do that. So that's good, but it would just become more restrictive on when we can give out meals, or for what days we can give out meals and who the meals are intended for. The state of Massachusetts and other states submitted requests to the USDA back in July asking that they extend the program that we've been working under through the entire school year, all the way until June 30th of 2021. Right now, the USDA came back and agreed to extend it to September 15th. So we have until September 15th, we'll be giving out universal free meals to all children 18 and under. We are waiting for word, many states are waiting for word from the USDA as to whether or not it's going to be approved to extend it beyond that. And we're hopeful that it will. If it is, it has bipartisan support in Congress. If it is, then we will be able to continue running the same way we've been running all these previous months. We'll continue doing that at least until we begin with the hybrid program of education where children are coming back to the schools. So all of that is up in the air right now. We are planning on the possibility of not getting that extension and falling under the National School Lunch Program on September 16th. But we are hopeful that an extension is granted and that we're able to continue doing the free meals, universal free meals.
So you mentioned that once school starts September 16th, the meals will be distributed only to Wareham students.
Yes.
So school is going to start remote and then proceed later on sometime in October. Given the numbers and the trends on COVID-19, we'll get to the hybrid approach. So meanwhile, while students are remote learning, will they need to come to those sites with an ID to prove that they are still enrolled in order to receive that meal?
No.
Okay.
So the children will not have to come. We still have that waiver for the parents. The parents can come. We're still trying to iron out. That's one of the things that we have to iron out, because the concern is that some parents might not still have their students' IDs, and there are new children that were enrolled, and because they haven't initially been in school yet, they don't have student IDs. So we are still working on how we are going to identify, at a minimum, when an adult or child comes up to the distribution point and says, I'd like to get a free meal. We will ask them, or the parent, at what school they attend. And we have to record that. We don't have to record their name. We don't have to record any other information than, okay, we gave out free meals for this many students that go to, for example, Deacon's Elementary. We gave out this many free meals for students that go to Minot Elementary, this many that go to Wareham Middle School, this many that go to Wareham High School. So we have to keep a tally for the state, and we have to submit that of how many free meals for each school were given out. And so we will ask what school they attend, but right now we're still trying to figure out if we're going to require anything beyond that. So we will need to know what school they attend, but some folks may not have an ID that they can present, and in that case, we would still, if they say that their child goes to this school or that school, we would still provide them the meal, and we're going to try to figure out how we can get identification to them for the future.
238,000 meal, that is a lot. I'm trying to understand the need in this community, whether because this program exists and people say, sure, who doesn't like freebies? Everybody, hey.
Right, yeah.
Or we really have this really addresses the dire need in this community. I'm trying to understand the numbers of eligibility versus those who come because this program does exist.
So, yes, and so to answer that, first I would say the meals were free to everyone, regardless of income, regardless of anything, and they still are. If somebody comes up and says, I have 3 children at home, we give them 3 free breakfasts, 3 free lunches, and that's it. There's no questions about income or eligibility or anything. It's just free meals for the children regardless of income or what have you. I will tell you that myself, I've been told directly, and also our folks doing the distribution by many people, that they are very grateful for it, and it is helping them, it has been helping them feed their children, and that it helped them bridge the gap that they had. There were many people, especially initially during the when we completely shut down, there were many people who lost their jobs, and the meals were a way that they could feed their children, and they still are for many people. There are many folks who were worried about going to the supermarket and such, and they were grateful that they were able to rely on picking up these free meals for their children anyway, and that reduced how much they had to expose themselves in buying groceries. We also had, I'm sure, some folks who, some kids definitely, who liked the free meals and may have been able to get something at home, but they enjoyed getting the meals, and we were very happy to give them the meals as well. But I will say that I firmly believe that there is a need in our community that has been validated by persons telling me the things that I've just said, how they appreciated the availability of these free meals, and it helped them very much. And I do think that a large chunk of those 238,000 meals went to children who definitely needed them.
Now, in order for this program to sustain itself or to work, it requires reimbursement in your part.
Yes.
Right? So let's talk about that and what it means if, as you mentioned, you need to provide a meal with milk. What does it mean when you have the meals here and people do not come and get them? Does that interfere with the reimbursement?
Yes. So we are only reimbursed for a meal that we provide for a child. So if we make food and it is not taken and it has to be discarded or in some way properly disposed of or what have you, then we can't claim that meal. So the meal, we get reimbursed not for how much we produce, but for how much is actually utilized by children. So if we produce more than the number of meals taken, then that is waste. We have been able, over the months, we were able to fine-tune our process, so we had minimal leftovers. We would adjust. We knew that on Monday we had lower participation, and so we would make less meals. We knew on Friday we had much higher participation, so we would make more meals, and we were able to adjust. And we also were able to make some meals at the last minute. If we were running short somewhere, myself and others would actually ferry more food that had just been made or that we had in reserve. We would ferry that food out to those sites so that we wouldn't run out, rather than sending more food than was needed and it being wasted. Now, as far as the reimbursement goes, we get reimbursed for each breakfast and for each lunch. And in order to be reimbursed, those meals have to meet U.S. Department of Agriculture requirements, which includes what I've already mentioned, the milk. And then there are certain dietary requirements that we have to make sure we're meeting. So we were making sure we were complying with all those requirements in the breakfast and lunches in order to be reimbursable.
Absolutely. Are you at all worried regarding the budget of this program moving forward? The impact of COVID-19 is yet, I mean, we have some type of direction, but the numbers will show that there isn't enough money to go around. So are you at all concerned? And if so, what are the plans moving forward?
Yes, very concerned. As I alluded to, the current program that we're operating under, it ends on the 15th. Under that, we've been reimbursed enough to where we're able to make ends meet. We're able to pay for all the overhead because we have to not only pay for the food, we have to pay for the labor. We have equipment that breaks. We have to fix the equipment. We have to buy supplies, etc. All of that is paid for out of the reimbursement. And up until now, we've been able to make ends meet. The concern is that on September 16th, when we roll under the National School Lunch Program, the amount that we get reimbursed for each meal drops significantly because it was designed, or the National School Lunch Program is done in anticipation of feeding children in schools, in cafeterias. And so it does not account for the additional cost of transportation, of having to keep the things, or keeping the meals cold or hot in coolers, and putting them on buses and driving them out and having to pay for the salaries of all the additional people that are required. It doesn't account for that. So as we're continuing to do what we've been doing under the National School Lunch Program, then we roll into deficit. And right now, we are trying to figure out plans of how we would be able to get by with that. But it is a concern, and it is something that we will be looking at and working on in the weeks to come.
Thank you so much. Is there anything you'd like to add I didn't ask?
No, I would just like to reiterate that again on Monday, August 31st, we will be restarting our food distribution program. It will be at all of the 8 sites that were up and running all the way up until August 14th. It will be at the same time from 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. each morning, and we will be giving out on Fridays meals for the weekend, for Saturday and Sunday. And I would say that that Friday, September 4th, we will be giving out meals for 4 days because Labor Day is on Monday. So we'll be giving out on Friday meals for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday because we'll be closed on Monday in observance of the Labor Day holiday. So I would just like to ask everybody to please come on out and get the meals for your children.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for this information. To our viewers, my guest is Michael Russell, who is the Food Service Director for the Wareham Public Schools, discussing the school meal program over the last school year, and how this program is going to proceed this coming school year, and also the challenges of this particular program during the time of COVID. With that, I thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, I'm sure you can reach out to him and he will provide you with needed information.
Definitely.
Social distancing and staying home are the best ways to limit the spread of COVID-19. But if you must go out, make sure you cover your face. You can use anything that covers your nose and mouth, including dust masks, scarves, and bandanas. But leave the surgical masks and N95s for healthcare workers. Remember, masks slow the spread when you must go out, but staying home and social distancing are the best ways to protect yourself and others. For more information, visit mass.gov/COVID-19.
Hello and welcome back. Sorry about all the fussing about behind here. It's a live program. So this is the last segment of the show. With me is Stacey Hess, right? She is writer and teacher at Bristol Community College. And also I am joined by Sarah Thomas, who is the professor at Bridgewater State University, where I graduated from. Anyhow, we are here to talk about the fight against racism. And from what I have read is that in order to fight this battle, we have to start with education. And this is where both of you come in. So could we start with, may you further introduce yourself and how you came about in this fight?
Okay. Yes, I teach first-year students at Bristol Community College, and before that I was a journalist. I have a certificate in Native American Studies, and I think learning about Native Americans made me really aware of how history has been taught over the years. And I know that I did not receive an accurate teaching of history in school. So that's part of the fight. And also I lived in cities most of my life, New Bedford for 10 years, San Francisco, Boston. I'm used to being in really diverse, vibrant places. But I believe that every mom should not be fearful when their son or daughter goes out for the evening, black or white or red. So I just want to be on the right side of justice and history.
Fantastic. May you tell us about you?
Sure. So I'm actually a native of New Bedford, and I teach at Bridgewater State University in the School of Education. And I have 2 children who are biracial. And so this actually is pretty close to home for us, because when a lot of these events have happened, we've had to have these tough conversations at home. And when you have a 7 and a 10-year-old, it's difficult. It's difficult. And so I just think it's really important that we educate our children and we educate our community so everyone has a safe space and you have a nice conversation. And so we can all work together to make it a better community, better environment for everyone.
Wow. Now, ladies, you both say, racism, not only does it exist, but it is systematic. But that is still a point of discussion, right? So may you please, not necessarily defend your stance, but could you please talk to us how you arrived to that conclusion?
Sure. I mean, first of all, I think saying in 2020 that systemic racism is not a thing is grossly inaccurate and highly inappropriate for anyone. And if you think about it, the people who say that are generally white, right? But there are statistics, of course, to back this up, like black families earn 10 cents for every dollar that white families own. Housing policies, and it's called redlining. These are policies that were created many decades ago, but it's not as if they've evaporated. America hasn't fully reconciled with the fact that these policies are racist. And so until we do, argues our author, the one we've been reading, Ibram Kendi, we won't have a post-racial society. Like it does not exist. We are still living in a racial society.
Wow. Now, you said both of your children are mixed, right? So I'm sure you're seeing this, so you're relearning or you're finding new things regarding this topic. What have you able to recognize, given that now you're a parent to mixed children versus when you didn't have kids?
Well, I'm more aware of things that might happen or conversations they may have. I, as an educator, I realized that, in schools, oftentimes black and brown children get more suspensions, they receive more detentions, things like that. They're typically, sometimes they are kind of ones who might get in trouble a bit more. And so that's something I'm like, I didn't realize that. And then now that I have children of my own, I mean, thank goodness school's great for them. Yeah. But I am more cognizant of everything right now, and I'm trying to make it so they have a great life, a future for them, and I want them to be welcome and accepted and have a wonderful, life going forward.
And I need to address this, right? You're a Caucasian woman. Do you identify as Caucasian? Do you identify as?
I'm Caucasian, but my family's Lebanese American.
Oh, okay, great. Great. I didn't want to just put you in a tiny little box, Yes. But I'm saying, people will be listening to this interview, and these are 2 women who look 100% Caucasian, right? And they're like, wow, that's refreshing. They're out there fighting for Black Lives Matter, something that we haven't really seen as much in previous years. So it has always been a topic brought on by people of color. So to other Caucasian people who are hearing you, seeing you, they're wondering, are you brainwashed? Have you, I mean, truly, not to sound offensive, but these are topics or points that people brought on, that you have bought into this agenda. You have been made to feel bad about you yourself. What do you say?
Actually, Sarah and I were just talking about this on the way over.
Okay, thank goodness.
Like, Queen, what you don't know is I was a single mom. I was raised by an alcoholic. Like, everybody has struggles. So pigeonholing anyone is a mistake, right? So maybe it's just about operating, with love.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I concur. I
My
agree
God.
with that. Yeah.
So, ladies, you had a great event yesterday.
We did.
Okay, could you tell us about what transpired and how successful it was?
Sure. So we had our midway point for our discussion about STAMP by Jason Reynolds and How to Be an Anti-Racist by Kendi. And we had a conversation halfway through for our book, community book reads. We had a diverse group of people, probably not as large as we had hoped, but it was a wonderful conversation. We were able to come up with ideas, action items kind of for the future. And I think we're really thinking, wow, people are talking, and that's really important. People are having conversations and difficult conversations. So I think that was really enlightening.
Wow, how to be an anti-racist. Who can beat that?
Yeah, it's an oft-quoted book right now. Sarah's using it in her schools. Right? No, you're using Stamped.
Well, yes, and we're using Stamped for my young adult lit class, but for my social justice book club, we're giving students a choice, and so I'm assuming maybe wrongly, that they might choose that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very good. And what kind of tips maybe they share about how to be an anti-racist?
One interesting thing is, and this is one of the elemental things in the beginning, that it's not enough to say you're not racist, right? Because then you can sort of distance yourself from any of the problems that are happening in our country. Oh, well, that's just a bad player, or that's just a bad policeman or a bad politician. Kendi says you have to actually be actively anti-racist. And how to do that is to talk about race and talk about inequities and talk about historical oppression.
Very good. Now, have you able to share your knowledge with your family? Do you discuss race? I'm sure you speak. Yeah.
We do and we don't. I
Okay.
mean, I think we didn't really talk too much about it, and then when everything kind of came to a head, we started having more conversations. It's been interesting. We kind of sometimes like, oh, it'll be fine, and then no, wait, we need to have these conversations. So we've been talking, and I think it's been eye-opening for my immediate family and the larger family, because I think we haven't really realized that, that we need to think about that. We need to make sure that we have these conversations, and it's been great. I've met a lot of wonderful people too, so resources, people I can talk to and say, give me some ideas.
Very good.
Our protest was a turning point, I
Yes,
think.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite. That was. Oh yeah. Not you guys. But that was very successful. I was reading about that on Civican Week, also Wareham Week. This took place in June 5th. A lot of people showed up. I mean, a Black Lives Matter protest in Mattapoisett? Talk to me.
It was the first protest ever in Mattapoisett, and one person on our committee, Kyle DeCiccio Carey, asked for signs from participants so that he could add it to the archives, make a future exhibit, start reimagining the Mattapoisett Museum so that it reflects the contribution of African Americans throughout history. Wow. Everyone is acting in their own sphere of influence. That's how I feel.
And when I was reading about that, even the protest that Wareham also had a Black Lives Matter protest, and I was trying to just think, when we see these protests and riots and right in the news, we think it's over there in the cities. It cannot be in Mattapoisett. It cannot be in Marion. It cannot be in Wareham. I mean, really, it's a suburb community. What could go so wrong? So that was so refreshing. What type of issues did people speak about? What is our struggle in Mattapoisett?
Well, our speakers a lot spoke about the schools and how they had experienced racism in the schools, and it really opened the door to an opportunity to speak with the schools about, how we can create an environment where all students are welcome. And the schools actually sent a letter and said your families are welcome to come to this family-friendly event. I was actually very blown away by that, and I thought, wow. And then I've seen people, they're like, that was really great, and it was wonderful, and everyone kind of made it a nice community event. The police gave us an escort. We were in conversation with Chief Lyons. That was wonderful, and Kyle was there, and we had photographers. It was great. It was really great.
I'm very happy to hear that. So ladies, what's next for you? Where can people find you? How can they join you? What's next?
We're still developing ourselves. Like the community read stemmed from asking that question about the protest. Well, what's next? And we thought, okay, summer, what can we do? So 215 people are part of the Tri-Town and Beyond Community Read. More people can join. Keep joining. It goes through September, early September. And after that, we hope to have an in-person panel with civil rights leaders, maybe some lawyers, people who can, stakeholders in this fight for justice. And that will hopefully be in person, but it will all be COVID dependent.
Okay.
And after that, the sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit. I like that.
Yeah.
So they can find you on Facebook?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Tell us the name of the group again.
It's Tri-Town and Beyond Community Read.
Okay, very
Yes.
good. Thank you so much to both of you for being in the studio this morning to share about this work and this reading club, which is very productive. You get to read and you get to learn something new to enrich you. All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
To our viewers, with me in the studio is Stacey Hess, who's a writer and teacher at Bristol Community College, and Dr. Sarah Thomas, who is a professor at Bridgewater State University. We were talking about a fight against racism. It starts with education, and they're providing that. Anyhow, with that, thank you so much for joining us this morning. If you missed us, this particular interview will air this evening at 6 p.m. This is my last show. I'm moving on. I've accepted a job offer at Channel 12 in Rhode Island, but I wish you all the best, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity. Yes, and it will also go on our YouTube channel, Wareham Community Television on YouTube. With that, Wareham, I wish you all a wonderful day and a great weekend.